Hello, guys. And if you do love a Reddit story, why not consider hitting that subscribe, maybe that notification bell too. Today, our story from the user RedCraw3D, and it is called, My wife, 28F, is asking me, 31M, to leave my very good job to prove to her she is a priority in my life or get divorced. What would you advise me? Story. Me and my wife had a very happy love story and used to think we love each other so much. We both did a lot for great stuff for each other worth appreciating at the beginning of our relationship. However, we have had a very drama-filled month in February. The overall story is, I was staying at her family's for about 2 months, while me and her look for a place to rent that we can afford. Unfortunately, the stay at her family's place was extremely uncomfortable and tiring. We both kept arguing due to her asking me questions about past girls in my life almost 100 times a day, to the point I started being paranoid of saying a word, or she will start asking past questions and be angry at me if I refuse to reply to them. These questions usually very random, like I would say I love a song and then she starts interrogating me for an allure about whether I listen to it with another girl or not. At the beginning, I would tolerate an answer, but when it goes for a few days of the same questions being repeated, I lose my patience and start arguing with her. We also had few fights over other stupid stuff, but this past question problem was the biggest. At the beginning, we tried to keep the fights away from her family, but eventually they will notice or hear us arguing. Then her dad will interfere and yell at us. Usually yells at me in front of her then, according to their word, yells at her while I am not in the house. His words started making me very uncomfortable as I am not child, and don't like being yelled at. He would say stuff like, "You're ruining the mood in my house," or, "You two need to get out of here as soon as possible," or, "I feel like you're using my daughter." All these statements made me very uncomfortable staying in his house anymore, and to top it all, she also used to try to kick me out of the house by yelling at me, "Get out of my house!" Few times during our fights. Eventually, after I started getting extremely pressured and depressed of how I am being judged for fights I don't control, and usually happens because their daughter, my wife, starts asking me questions about the past for the most random moments. So after about 3 weeks of constant fighting, her dad yelling at me, she trying to kick me out, feeling like I'm going to go crazy from how uncomfortable I am, I got my bags and left the house in front of her and her mom. 2 days later, I sent her a message telling her that I needed to leave the house, or I will go crazy, and told her the reasons which she attacked me so hard for and denied them. Then I made it clear I don't want divorce. I just need us to find a place to live alone. She stayed angry at me, and I tried to fix it between us by inviting her to meet me somewhere. When we met, she started yelling at me loudly in front of everyone in the cafes and calling me names because she says I hurt her so much and embarrassed her a lot by leaving her parents' house, which made me very uncomfortable. At this time, I also got a job offer, which I told her about, and she congratulated me, but started telling me I was wrong for accepting it because it will require us to move away from her parents, even though she and her parents knew I was going to get accepted to this job while I was still living with them. In a span of 25 days, we met 6 times, 5 of which she kept insulting me and calling me names. Asking for stuff that shows she is valuable to me, like asking me buy her a $10,000 ring and asking for divorce, then making me guilty for not meeting her every day, like she wanted to prove to her she is important to me no matter how much she insults me or not, because she has never been as hurt as she is now. She actually does look very hurt, which make me feel very bad, but I feel like the yelling and insults are unnecessary. Eventually, I had to move from my job, which I just started in another province, and invited her to come with me 1,000,000,000 times. She said I have to apologize to her parents first, so I rode for 6 hours and rented very expensive Airbnb in her hometown for 3 days to apologize to them, and ended up meeting them and apologizing to them as much as I can. They were very rude, but said they appreciate me coming. I asked her if we can move on now about everyone trying to demonize me for leaving the parents' house. She yelled at me that my apologies were not good enough, and that I'm always defending myself because her dad told me at my face that I'm evil, and people of my race don't respect women, and I stopped him when he said that. At this point, I realized that I came all the way to apologize, met her despite the insults and yells in public as much as I can, and tried to fix so much, but none of it appreciated or looked upon. Well, because she keeps insisting none of what I am doing is enough, and I have to do something very big to prove she's a priority to me. Like buying a super expensive $1,000 ring, leaving my religion, meeting her every day even if she yells at me in public and lose my job. Now she is asking for divorce, and her ultimatum is I have to lose my job to prove to her she is a priority to me, otherwise she wants the divorce as soon as possible because she doesn't want to be with a man who doesn't think of her as #1 priority, apparently. And because she has never been that hurt in her life and doesn't want to leave her life behind and go with me to the new city, because according to her, keeping the job means she is not #1 priority, and I don't understand or feel guilty enough for hurting her. At this point, I don't know what to do. Any advices? Comment 1 from user Head Attention 6008. It sounds like your wife would rather you be broke, homeless, and staying with her parents so they can all berate you. You can choose to start a good job where you can support yourself. I would leave the wife and her toxic parents behind and be glad the job takes you out of their province. Comment 2 from user Izatal from China. Hombre, you should have learned by this age to recognize the difference between someone that loves you and someone that hates you. I can't say that I see any love in this post, so that means only one thing. Top it off. I see how entitled she is, based on how her parents treated you. She is a daddy's girl and expect you to bend over backward and make her the only priority in her life, not recognizing the fact that money does not grow on trees. Keep your new job. Grow in it. File for divorce with this entitled chick and live the best life she wished she had. Move on, man. Comment 3 from user Nature's Vivid. Well, you could point out to her that if you quit your job, then she's not getting anything from you because you have no money. So, no, don't quit your job. Go back to your job, and she wants a divorce. Let her. Geez, why would you want to stay married? I don't know what happened to her when she moved back into her parents' house, but sounds like she totally regressed and went nuts. Get a divorce and move on. Thank goodness you two don't have any kids. Comment 4 from user Kiwi Honey. Run, don't walk, to your nearest exit. There isn't any reasonable way back from this. Seriously, living with in-laws would put a significant strain on most any relationship. But now you've seen how she behaves when under stress. She is demanding, unreasonable, and frankly unloving. All of what she's done and is doing is cruel. Not just mean, but actually cruel. If you stay with her, and God forbid have kids with her, your kids will also be subject to that cruelty when she is under stress. Think on that a while. Your wife needs help, and I hope she gets it, but she will probably always be fundamentally prone to histrionics, and your relationship already this behavior set in its foundations. The damage to your relationship is almost certainly irreparable. The kindest thing you can do for yourself and for her is to leave. Be honest, but not mean, and tell her why it's over. Have everything in place before you tell her, though. She sounds unstable, which could make her vindictive, so you need to ensure you have a place to go right away, and that any possessions of yours that you value are safe and out of her reach. I've seen otherwise reasonable people do insane *T when their partners leave, including ruining, giving away, or throwing out clothes and other possessions within a matter of hours. I'm sorry you're having to deal with this. No one deserves this treatment. Update. She has been questioning me about the past for 5 years now, and it only keeps getting worse. I continue to work at my new job and prepare documents for divorce. She continues to make trouble during our infrequent meetings. It looks like my wife will soon become an ex, but I don't know how she really feels about it. Thank you for watching. Like and subscribe to the channel. See you again.